This is podcast number 2 from Gathering Marbles, Unsafe at Any Speed. During those last 2 years at Pally, I filled the borders of notebook paper with doodles, pencil, ballpoint, whatever. This was during class when we were supposed to be taking notes or something. Sitting there listening and dutifully recording the words of my instructors wasn't feasible. I mean, I listened, but I was drawing most of the time. At home, legal-sized canary tablets became my confidants. I didn't have anyone else to talk to. Words were fun to mess around with. The ubiquitous doodles surrounded my prose. The idea of getting out grew to become a common theme, though what I was hoping to get out of exactly wasn't at all clear to me at that point. Liz showed me how to play chords on her steel string guitar before I left for Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. The first song she showed me how to play was Cotton Fields. 1972 was the year the album Will the Circle Be Unbroken was released. Doc Watson blew the minds of most of the guitar players I knew. And with that record, my musical fate was essentially sealed. I had taken clarinet lessons during my elementary school years, but seldom practiced. Musical nomenclature didn't transfer over to the guitar for me, but playing by ear is how many people swing, and that was me. A few lessons here and there, some basic theory, and I was good to go. Back then, most of us had the same records. Everybody had Carole King, Tapestry, some Beatles, and some Stones, and some Taj Mahal, and maybe Dave Brubeck, Taking Five, and lots of people had Will the Circle Be Unbroken, and then Old and In the Way. My generation of acoustic players shared a common vocabulary, just like my generation of music lovers. We had all the same albums. I took to co-opting Jerry Jeff Walker songs, rewriting his lyrics to fit my mood. His song, Little Bird in particular. Pictures of my face on the window pane. Is it tears I see or is it rain? Writing lyrics and making up songs from scratch became progressively easier over the next few years. Easier maybe isn't the right word, but I wrote dozens of rudimentary songs. And I was now getting some of my feelings out through writing original tunes. Miraculously, I had located an exit from the House of Squares. Of course, I had no clear awareness of any of these developments while they were developing. People go about making decisions in various ways, including researching their choices. That's what I hear, anyway. As a child of the late 60s and a never-to-be-identified ADD kid, I had long thought that doing work in nature, like environmental studies, forest rangering, wildlife management, would be cool. And so I signed up for a major in environmental engineering at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. I lived in an off-campus housing place, a single skinny room in a 2-story structure that bordered the campus just across Stenner's Creek, so I could walk over to classes or ride my 10-speed. Registering that fall was weird. None of my required classes included anything about, for instance, trees or rivers or air quality. A bit later during that quarter, wondering why I was enrolled in Drafting 101, I discovered that environmental engineering focused largely on the heating and air conditioning of office buildings. Yeah, I switched to a psychology major before Christmas. I didn't have access to beer, so I smoked a lot of cheap weed. Before long, I was deep into a never-to-be-diagnosed schizophrenic existential crisis. I came unhinged in bed every night. One of these voices is mine. This one. No, it isn't. Okay, so where are we going with this? We who? I'm here too, you know. I'm me too. Every night I told myself and this other guy bedtime stories, and then I was the other guy telling us bedtime stories. But he kept butting in. The stories were less fun than Grimm's fairy tales by a long shot. Steve became my best friend during that fall term. Steve was the wild child son of the chief of police of San Jose and also a freshman. His Chicano friends shunned me for a while, which hurt. Chicano power had emerged apparently not long after the Black Power movement, and I was on the receiving end of their unambiguous bad vibes for a number of weeks. That was a drag because I liked those guys. Thanks to Steve, they ended up letting me hang with them, and then we were cool. One Friday, Steve and I got hold of a couple of six-packs of Mickey's Big Mouths, industrial strength malt liquor in these rounded green bottles. That was toward the end of the fall quarter. Not clear what happened after that. You could buy a lid for $10. For the winter quarter, early 1973, when I was smoking all that weed, I shared a room in a quad with a super nice, funny white guy, Clay, who came from Orinda, California. The six of us in that quad all knew how to play chess and bridge. One night we all got high and put on an LP of Firesign Theater's Don't Crush That Dwarf, Hand Me the Pliers. He's upstairs, helping Porcelain make the bed. Porgy tire biter. Coming, mother. He's so good with the servants, Fred. My new roomie, Clay, played guitar, sang, and knew several of the same artists I did. We sang Tijuana Jail by the Kingston Trio quite a bit. I picked up a $100 Washburn guitar around this time, and Clay and I took lessons on guitar and mandolin from this one guy who taught us fiddle tunes. I discovered how easy it was for me to sing harmonies to whatever Clay was laying down. 4 years of singing along with the Beach Boys, Beatles, Stones, and all that during my early teen years had dialed in my ear, it seems. Or maybe music was just my thing. Remembering lyrics and finding harmonies was effortless. We had a friend there at Stenner Glen who one day grabbed an inner tube and jumped into the creek, which was at flood stage that winter. He was from Hawaii, where they apparently don't have low-head dams. So this happy hippie aloha kid and his tube went under and only washed up a couple of miles downriver later that week. During finals week, the card and chess table in the common room rarely sat empty. Music aside, I was still completely adrift, but music had tossed me a life preserver that term. I had met this beautiful girl from L.A. She rightly, I think, tabbed me as an existentialist. She's the one who I wrote my very first original song verses about. Her name was Christy. I never even tried to kiss her, though I did give her a hand-painted watercolor of Frodo Baggins. She noted I had put the one ring on Frodo's finger. It was during this period when I pledged myself an oath. Nobody, I thought, nobody who is this miserable and has the capacity to pass that misery on through genetics should ever procreate. And that was my promise to myself. I also feared that humans were overpopulating the planet. The population bomb, which provided the original, less personal argument. Back in high school again, Liz's older brother, Stuart, did his level best to turn me gay. I was 15, and he was 10 years my senior. He turned me on to weed, bought beer for us high schoolers, filled my head with early Dylan and Captain Beefheart, showed me how to make photographs, all sorts of good stuff. He had a bohemian wife and 2 lovely kids. After I left for college, he found greener and gayer pastures. I picked on my friend Billy in junior high in the 8th grade. I had issues with meanness there for a while. I remember crying over the phone when I was apologizing 50 years later for picking on him. Like, what the hell, Jones? He forgave me. We had become tight friends later. During our junior year at Pali, I had fallen out of organized sports that summer. Most of the jocks and the coach were sarcastic a-holes, and I quit the JV basketball team in the middle of the summer league schedule. In direct contrast to the jocks, Billy was a conversationally brilliant, ironic, fascinating cat who had insights into both the Grateful Dead and psychedelics. He also had a '65 Mustang. We shared pointy, snarky senses of humor and could relax in each other's company. One time his mom caught us trying to smoke banana peels. We also experimented with nutmeg, or I did anyway. We may as well have been 2 little kids out on the lawn, spinning around and falling down.
Billy and me were outsiders. Oh, we never did fit in, getting off on the in crowd. We kept laughing just to kill the pain. We had phoners and questions and dreams. They were bigger than any school, busting out at the seams all over. Oh, why we kept on playing the fools. Do you remember that night, Billy? When we were sideways in the road, told our folks we were camping. We took your Corvair out to the Colorado. We pulled up at the river. We kicked back and partied with all the wandering freaks. I wonder if they were like us. We'll never know, 'cause half of them could not speak. We were unsafe at any speed, and it's a wonder that we survived unsafe at any speed. Oh, it felt weird to be alive, unsafe at any speed. We went flying into the night, unsafe at any speed, getting high and getting tight. Remember the music, like I remember flying away on the magic and the beauty, laughing and crying and belting out harmony. Last night I had it happen again, Billy. I was with some friends, we were drinking wine. I drifted off in the music, the chill shot down my spine, and I was flying. It's like a gift from God or the universe or something, to feel that one sweet moment of bliss, the perfect chord or sunset or wave, or the one you love when she finally gives you that first real kiss. Oh yeah.